Hello and welcome to another video. So today we're going to be talking about Limbo and Warframe. I feel like this video is required because a lot of people have been misunderstanding Limbo and haven't been playing him right, the ones that I've been seeing, and it's been annoying me because a bad Limbo is just really annoying. What we're going to do is we're going to go very briefly over his abilities because I'm sure someone's done a much better breakdown of them. So his passive is really useful and incredibly powerful. It allows him to get into the rift really easily without any energy, which is really good. His banish allows him to basically put stuff into the rifts, which is really easy. The damage is mediocre. You're not using it mainly for the damage, you're mainly using it as a form of CC. You then have the stasis, which is his other form of CC, which allows him to freeze stuff permanently in the rift. However, it is subject to a couple rules. The main rule that is going to annoy a lot of people is the fact that it will freeze projectiles. If you fire too many bullets while stuff has been frozen in stasis and you are under the effects of the rift, it will unfreeze it, and if you are at a high level, this will probably kill you. Just a word of warning there. We then have Rift Surge, which basically acts as another form of CC. For every time you kill something, it basically spreads banish about, which is really useful. And then we have Cataclysm, which is basically a little pocket rift, which allows you to spread the banish effect even further and the stasis effect even further too. Okay, with that in mind, we are going to be taking a look at what his abilities do and the damage they can output. So here we have a bunch of enemies, and I literally just want to show you at level 120 like how much damage they will actually take from each of his abilities. But before we do that, just to make sure we are clear on what we are doing and how much power strength we have, I will go with 155. He's not 155, incredibly balanced build, easy to understand, I hope. And now we're going to show you how much damage that will actually do against Guinea. I'm going to apply stasis so I don't die, and activate it, and yeah, like, it doesn't do any damage. Anyone that tells you to build for power and power strength on Limbo is an idiot. Cataclysm is not used for damage. The damage falls off significantly from about level 20, and when you get to about level 30, then it's just irrelevant, even if you build a lot of power strength. There is one thing to keep in mind when it comes to Limbo, and that is status procs will actually last longer while being in the rift. You can see here they're lasting a significantly time longer compared to they normally would, which, as it turns out, is pretty useful for a melee frame, because this means you can augment your damage even further. Now then, what we're going to do is we're going to look at this, and we're also going to be looking at this one, which is Rift Tolerant. Rift Tolerant makes Limbo's melee build very strong, because it adds damage to Limbo's kit. Given how Limbo can freeze stuff, and given how Limbo can basically apply status procs for longer, this means that Limbo can do some really fun stuff. Because Limbo can do this, and then get a 600% damage buff, which allows him to choke through targets like that very quickly and easily. The only downside to this though is you need to reapply the buff, and it comes down to stuff walking into it in order to reapply it. But you can see here the damage is pretty ludicrous. Which is nice. And I'm just going to reapply that again, 600%. I'm not too sure on like the maths behind the damage increase. I think it might be additive, but I'm not too sure. You're gonna have to check the wiki for that one, sorry. So there is that. So what I'm basically trying to say is Limbo is a melee frame, or he can be a melee frame, especially if you get Rift Tolerant. The other use for Limbo is basically building him as a giant CC frame that is immortal. This also works as well. You can do a variation on this where you don't build any range at all, So if you want to keep something safe, you can put something like narrow-minded on, and then you can put one of the other augments on, and that still would be fine. Like that's reasonable. That then allows you to have a very small cataclysm bubble, which is still useful. There are certain enemies that may not agree with Limbo's cataclysm, like the nullifiers, which will pop it and immediately close it, which will then kill Limbo because they do a ridiculous amount of damage. We then have the other build that I run, which is basically a speedrun build. This is designed just to speedrun spy vaults. Very, very useful, focused on speed, not many other stats really. Limbo used to rely heavily on duration, but honestly now you can build like 180 and be fine. You didn't have to build duration anymore, which is nice. And then that allows you to build other stats like range. What else is there to cover when it comes to Limbo? Oh yeah, some of the rules, I guess. If you want to interact with something, you have to be in the same plane as it. You can't be in a different plane. Also, you can revive teammates while being in the rift. You can't hack and interact with consoles while you're in the rift. Apparently you can in the simulation, but you can't in the game, which is nice. But there's also another interaction which I was going to say. When it comes to being in the rift, what you can do is you can put your Warframe here, you can pull out your operator, your Warframe basically acts as a decoy, and you can hack. I believe that still works, so that's useful. You can use Limbo as basically a bodyguard. Nice. There's also one other thing that comes to my mind. Ah yes, Limbo can bypass lasers. So Corpus lasers he can basically just run through. He can't run through cameras without being detected. You will basically be detected. You are on a different plane, but you are still visible. The way around that though is to basically put Prisma Shade on, or Shade, and be fine. You can also use a Cataclysm, which is low enough damage to basically pop any cameras, which is pretty useful. And given how you're going to be spending most of your time in the spy in the rift, because you don't really want to be killing stuff, because why would you? It's possible. So there you have it. I've said so many times. Limbo is incredibly easy for him to understand. He is basically all about putting stuff into the rift. You need to understand that if stuff is in the rift, you probably want to melee it as opposed to use your primary weapons, because of the hard limit in how much or how many bullets can exist in the rift, which will probably kill you otherwise. So most of the time for Limbo, I will not be using bullets. I will be using just weapons, like just melee weapons. Although you can do it, you just have to be aware of just how much damage you can output with those weapons, which I will now show you now, and then that'll be the end of the video, I guess. Yeah, you can use weapons like this. Let the bullets just exist. And you can also use them to get headshots pretty easily. There's a headshot. And then you basically unfreeze time and yeah, easy headshots. However, you have to be aware of how much damage you can output, and honestly that is a bit hard to estimate, if I'm honest with you. So there's Limbo, very briefly I guess. Going over what you can do with him. I haven't shown all of it because I can't show you currently. There you go. Yeah, use Limbo as a melee frame. Use stasis wisely. Make sure you are being extremely careful when you're popping out your Cataclysm. Make sure you have stasis up. Use Rift Surge to basically spread the rift about the place. And use Banish to basically put stuff into the rift when you need to, and use Cataclysm when you need to. You can use Limbo as a defense frame aggressively, or you can use him as a support defense frame, defensively. They both work, honestly. Personally, I will use Limbo in excavations, defense, spies, captures, rescue. Like, all of those are fine. I wouldn't particularly use him in exterminate because honestly there are better frames, but you can make all of those missions work and you can be good in them. He is probably the king of spies and defense, and probably excavation as well as rescue. So there you have it. There's Limbo. There's a couple builds very briefly which we'll look at again. CC build, you can strip down the range if you don't need the range. Speedrun Limbo for anything that you need to speedrun, so spies and rescues and sorties. And then we have buff Limbo, which is all around rift tolerant. I suppose we should talk about the augments too before we go. This is a very long ending. Catechism is very, very useful, especially for killing stops and stuff, so you can honestly make that work. You will just lose one of these, but it's still fine. Haven is also very situational but useful. Being able to heal teammates is honestly pretty good. So there is that. Thank you for watching, see you again next time, and I hope you enjoyed the video. I probably should have pointed out that because Limbo can maintain status procs pretty easily, that means gas and slashes are very good with him. And I probably shouldn't have said the outro first. Oh well. Thank you for watching, see you again next time, and bye. Look forward to a new video soon-ish, probably.